Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to try to help to answer the question, who are the best 7.5 to 8 million pound forwards for the first few game weeks in FPL? To help inform my decision making, I'll be looking at the underlying statistics and also doing an analysis of the fixtures. Without further ado, let's get into this. So guys, we're going to jump straight into the video. I just want to start by saying that I obviously couldn't include every striker priced at this range because the graphic would have been far too small of the writing and also the video would have been too long. So I've removed a couple of players which I just don't think are probably feasible options to start with. Either they have really difficult fixtures or they don't look like they're fit or they don't look like they're going to play. For example, Dakar and Richarlison, I don't think are probably feasible options for game week 1. The other thing I'd like to note is that I know players such as Calvert-Lewin and Watkins may potentially be injured. I don't want to make assumptions at this stage because by the time I've recorded this and uploaded it, it might have changed the information. And also, it's still worth considering how the different strikers fare against each other. So I'm considering that everyone's fit and considering that everyone's playing when I've made this list. But obviously, do bear in mind that some players might be injured and some players might be rotation risks. So you can see straight away the list we've got is we've got 4 £8 million strikers and 5 £7.5 million strikers. So we've got Calvert-Lewin, Bamford, Martial and Ings at 8 million and Watkins, Wilson, Antonio, Jimenez and Iheanacho at 7.5 million. So I think these are the 9 best options for that sort of mid-price forward role. If you're playing a 4-3-3, it might, or a 3-4-3, sorry, it might be that you have 3 of these guys, or potentially if you're playing a 3-5-2 or a 4-4-2, it might be that you only have 2. Of course, there are other options in Tony and Malpai, so it might be that you only have one of these options and then a 6.5 million. Either way, I think it's going to be very, very useful to try and work out, is there a clear favourite? Is there a clear leader at this price range? And if not, are there sort of a top 2 or 3 that we should be considering ahead of game week 1? So you can see their names there. You can see their minutes as well because we're going to be looking at per 90 statistics because that mitigates for playing time. But I've left their minutes up just so that you know the sample size that we're drawing from and whether they might be nailed moving forward. So those are the players. Let's get into the underlying statistics. So the first 2 things we're going to be looking at are goals and assists per 90. Now, as you can see, some are highlighted in green, and that's just visually. So what I've done is I've ranked them from first to 9th according to these underlying statistics. So if they are in the top 3 for goals per 90, then they have their statistic highlighted in green. And that just allows you, once we've got the full table there, it allows you to look along and see which players are ranking highly in all of the categories, rather than just looking at who's the leader. So straight away, if we look at goals per 90, there is a clear leader. And I know for those of you that do like your statistics and watch a lot of football, you probably won't be surprised about it. But it is Kelechi Iheanacho. He's got 0.7 goals per 90 last season. Now, yes, he only played 1,400 minutes, which is less than half of some of the other strikers. But even so, that's a relatively big sample size to be pulling from. And he did very, very well towards the back end of the season. Now, unfortunately, it does look like Iheanacho isn't going to start the season. Now, I've spoken to some Leicester fans. They can't see any reason why the formation would change from what they played in pre-season, which is a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 with Barnes and Perez on the wings, which means they've only got one striker, and it does look like it's going to be Vardy. And even if it's not Vardy, Iheanacho is still competing with Dakar. So Iheanacho could potentially play on the right, which Brendan Rodgers has tried a couple of times. He's also tried him in that central attacking midfield role in case Maddison leaves, but it does unfortunately look like Iheanacho is not going to start the season. That being said, 0.74 goals per 90 is an incredible figure, and if he does look like he's going to start, then he should be in all of our teams. After Iheanacho, it then drops down to Callum Wilson at 0.52 goals per 90. That is over a goal every 2 games if he plays 90 minutes, which is very, very impressive. We know that Callum Wilson scores goals when he's on the pitch. It's just a matter of whether he's going to be on the pitch for the first few game weeks or whether he's going to suffer any injuries or fitness issues, although he does look like he's recovered now. So definitely a good option. Then after Wilson, there's a small drop down to Calvert-Lewin and Bamford, who are both tied on exactly 0.5 goals per 90, which means, again, if they play 90 minutes, they score every 2 games. So you're probably looking at those statistics at about 15 to 18 goals for Bamford and Calvert-Lewin if they can stay fit, which is a really, really good return. You can see both of them play close to or just above 3,000 minutes last season, both fairly talismanic figures. So I think Iheanacho, Wilson, Bamford and Calvert-Lewin all look fantastic options. It is worth noting there's only a short jump then down to Ings and Antonio, who also both show good goals per 90. And with Ings now moving to Aston Villa, we could see that number creep up most definitely, because obviously these statistics are for his time at Southampton. So Iheanacho, the clear leader there, Wilson, Calvert-Lewin and Bamford all looking quite good as well. For assists per 90, it is very, very useful if our strikers can also get their points from somewhere else. Obviously, they get more points for goals, they get more bonus points for goals, so we want them to score. But if they also have creativity they can add to their game, that's very, very useful. So the leader actually here is Anthony Martial. Again, a very small sample size. And I should say at this point, these are FPL assists per 90. And I know Martial actually won quite a few penalties before he got injured towards the start of the season. So that obviously helps as well. He won a lot of penalties. Bruno converted them, so he got a lot of FPL assists. So Martial is more of a creative figure, especially when he's coming in off that left. But as you can see, his goals per 90 are very, very low. So you don't want to just rely on assists from your striker. After Martial, you've got Bamford at 0.32. So Bamford ranking in the top 3, not only for goals per 90, but also for assists per 90. And so it shows that at 0.82 attacking returns per 90, that's how Bamford managed to get so many FPL points last season. So I like the fact that Bamford has goals and assists. And it's also the case for Callum Wilson, who has 0.26 assists per 90 to go alongside his 0.52 goals per 90. So Callum Wilson and Bamford here stand out for me as two people that score goals, but also create goals. And so just going off goals per 90 and assists per 90, at the start, I like the look of Bamford and Callum Wilson. Now, big chances per 90 is something that I like to look at. It is incorporated into other statistics, so you don't necessarily need to look at it alone. But the reason I like it is because it just tells me, is my striker that I want to pick getting into positions that not are only good scoring opportunities, but are chances that they should be converting? And if a striker repeatedly gets a lot of big chances per 90, they are very, very likely to be converting those unless they're a really poor finisher. So I really like looking at it. Straight away, again, the winner of this is Kelechi Iheanacho at 0.99. So he's getting a big chance per 90 towards the back end of the last season, which is obviously fantastic. After that, you've got Calvert-Lewin, Bamford and Wilson all above 0.9 big chances per 90. So those four strikers look like they're going to get a lot of chances if the systems continue that specific way. I would say that Danny Ings at 0.54 is probably more indicative of the state of Southampton last season as opposed to his ability to make the runs. We know he's a very, very clever striker. We know he likes getting those one-on-one opportunities and getting in and around the box. So I do think his big chances will go up, but it is, I suppose, slightly worrying to see statistics so low. Martial's is actually relatively high, and that's probably just because Man United create so many opportunities. Ollie Watkins is the other one that I think I do worry slightly. He does get FPL points, gets quite a few assists, but at 0.65 big chances per 90, that's really not a very high statistic, and I would be wanting my striker to be getting into some better opportunities to score those goals. So still worth looking at. Again, Iheanacho, Wilson, Bamford standing out, and also Calvert-Lewin on this occasion too. Now, this is where the data starts to become incredibly useful as we now delve into expected stats. So for those of you that don't use expected stats, it's what it says on the tin. It's how many goals and assists they're expected to get based on the position from the pitch and many other factors depending on the model you're using. Now, goals and assists per 90 are very important. If a striker is really clinical, they can continually overperform their expected goals because they score from angles that the stats suggest they shouldn't. And obviously, assists per 90, if you're playing in a team with fantastic finishers again, as was the case with Kane and Son last season, you can also overperform your expected assists. But it does often result in variance, and normally the statistics regress back to the mean. So if a player continually does overperform their XG, often that does slowly return back to the mean. So XG and XA are really, really nice statistics to look at because it gives you a better understanding of are they getting in good positions to score and are they creating good scoring opportunities as well. So if we start with just expected goals per 90, you can see Kelechi Iheanacho once again is the leader at 0.54. It's no surprise really if he's scoring 0.74 goals per 90, he's got to at least be getting quite a few opportunities to score as well. So 0.54, again, he's scoring 0.74 goals per 90 last season. So that either means he was potentially getting quite lucky with a few of his finishes, or it means that he's just a really clinical finisher. But you do need a much bigger range to start trying to identify trends based on that. So we could suggest that maybe there'll be a slight regression in Iheanacho's statistics. After Iheanacho, you've actually got Antonio and Wilson are very, very close, 0.51 and 0.5 respectively. So this is the first time we've seen Antonio pop up in the top 3, and he finishes second here. And Wilson, once again, is in the top 3. So you can see straight away for every statistic so far, Wilson has been in the top 3. I think Wilson and Antonio, we expect this though. They normally play as a lone striker in their formations with support off them, but they normally are getting in good goal scoring opportunities, and their teams like to try and feed them. So I don't think there's any massive surprise there. Bamford is very unlucky to miss out on the top 3 at 0.49. So once again, Bamford almost finishes in the top 3 strikers in this list for underlying statistics. So for XG, for getting in those goal scoring opportunities and expecting to score goals, we'd say Iheanacho, Antonio, Wilson and Bamford are probably those top 4 strikers. And then expected assist per 90. Again, we're looking at creativity here. And surprisingly, Iheanacho actually finishes top for expected assists. So we're saying potentially he's quite lucky to score more goals, but he's probably unlucky to not get more assists at 0.21. Watkins actually pops up in the top 3 here for assists, so that's the first time he's been in the top 3. And we know this, right? We know Watkins got quite a few 5-pointers last season. He likes to assist. He's quite a selfless striker, which again puts me off him slightly because we want our strikers to be scoring goals. So he's at 0.16, and Martial again. We're seeing quite regularly here these statistics. Martial doesn't rank very highly for goals scored, but he is quite a creative figure, and that is probably from him playing off the left as well as up front as a striker. So those are the top 3 for creativity stats with respect to expected assists per 90, with Iheanacho, Wilson and Martial in the top 3. We're now going to move on to expected goal involvement per 90, which is basically XG plus XA. So, as I said, we're now moving on to expected goal involvement per 90, which is essentially just a simple addition of XG plus XA. And, of course, if Kelechi Iheanacho ranks top for XG and for XA per 90, his goal involvement is going to be the highest, and it is 0.75, which, once again, is just crazy statistics. He's almost averaging a return every game, and again, we might expect this to regress to the mean slightly if he does play, but unfortunately, again, it doesn't look like he's going to play. And it does beg the question why Brendan Rodgers isn't fighting more to get Iheanacho in the side. Obviously, it might affect the team in different ways that Brendan might see that we don't. However, his individual statistics are absolutely fantastic, and I do wonder whether, if Leicester do struggle in the first couple of game weeks, whether he will find a way to get Iheanacho up top alongside Vardy, or potentially he might just chuck him in that right wing role. He might do it from the start. If he doesn't trust Perez or Albrighton in that right wing role, we might just see Iheanacho start there. So statistics are really looking good again for him. After Iheanacho at 0.75, we have Antonio and Wilson at 0.63 expected goal involvement per 90. Again, both of them ranking fairly highly. Wilson once again in the top 3, and he was almost in the top 3 for XA per 90 as well. So he's looking like one of the best strikers on this list. And Bamford at 0.61, once again ranking quite highly there. Watkins unlucky not to creep in with a 0.57, which is just a sign that he does have relatively good underlying statistics, but he's also very creative as well. So he does have 2 sources for points. So if Watkins can start to up the amount of goals he scores and the amount of opportunities he gets to score goals, and he keeps that creativity, he could develop into a top striker this season, even better than what he managed last season. So really interesting stats there. Again, Iheanacho, Antonio, Wilson and Bamford looking like the top 4 strikers. So guys, for the final 2 columns, I've just removed my camera. I could have made it really small, but I just think for the sake of, you need to see what's on the screen. Obviously, if you're on the phone, I'll still read it out, so don't worry about that if you can't see. But one of our final columns here is expected FPL points per 90. Now, I really like this statistic that's available on the Fantasy Football Fix website, because if you don't have the time, the desire, or the understanding to look at all of the underlying statistics, expected FPL points per 90 basically combines all the metrics into one and tells you, is someone a really good fantasy football asset? And as you can see on the screen, once again, of course, based on the underlying statistics, Iheanacho had the highest expected FPL points per 90 last season at 6.44. Now, I think anything above 5 is quite impressive, and that's what sort of you're looking for. In my opinion, that's what you're looking for, is your threshold. So 6.44 is crazy statistics. He'd be well over 200 points at that rate if he played 90 minutes in every game, which obviously he doesn't look like he's going to. After 6.44 at Iheanacho, we actually then drop down to 5.4 with Antonio and Wilson. So once again, as per their expected goal involvement per 90, Antonio and Wilson do rank in the top 3 for expected FPL points per 90 and well above 5. So they both look like they could be good assets if they can stay fit, which is the main concern for Antonio and Wilson. After those two, you drop then down to Bamford. So Bamford once again coming in at 4th, unlucky not to be in the top 3 at 5.13. I don't think any of these statistics really worry me. Ings and Watkins obviously slightly lower than you'd want, considering we've got them in a lot of us have got them in our first drafts. However, the fixtures are there, as we're going to discuss in a minute, so that wouldn't necessarily put me off. I think Martial's is quite disappointing, but again, he might play up front in the first few game weeks without Cavani back. He did struggle with injuries. He didn't quite settle into the side, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. And Jimenez, we haven't really spoken about Jimenez, but his statistics for all of these are very poor. Now, number one, it's an incredibly small sample size. It was only 824 minutes. He could have come into the back end of the season and performed really well, and then these statistics would be very, very high. So I wouldn't worry too much about these. If we'd have included his statistics from the previous seasons, they would be significantly better. So that wouldn't put me off too much, but definitely worth keeping an eye on, because even before his injury, he didn't look quite at it. But yeah, expected FPL points per 90, top 3, Iheanacho, Wilson, and Antonio. Now, for the final column, what I'm going to do is try and rank them based on all of these and get some sort of aggregate average to say who is the best asset. Now, what I've done for this final section is, as well as giving them a ranking for each of the different columns, I've then given them an overall rank. So adding up what rank they had for each of the 7 underlying statistics, I've given them a total and then ranked them according to that. Now, it isn't a particularly scientific approach. Obviously, each of these probably also shouldn't be given equal weighting. For example, big chances per 90 should be given a different weighting to expected goal involvement per 90. But just for the sake of the video and trying to give us a general overview, as well as looking at each of the individual statistics, I've given them an overall rank. Now, as you can see, and no surprise, if you've been watching the video, then Kelechi Iheanacho is obviously first. He ranks first in almost all of the different statistics, and he is the clear leader. And as I said, if we get any inclination that he is starting, he should probably be in all of our teams. Regardless of fixtures, those underlying statistics are absolutely fantastic. So after Kelechi Iheanacho, we've actually got Callum Wilson. And now, when I started doing the research for this, Callum Wilson was not in my team, but shortly after doing the research, Callum Wilson did enter my team, and his statistics are just brilliant when he's on the pitch. And of course, that is the caveat that he needs to be on the pitch, he needs to be fit. But with the signing of Willock, with St. Maximin looking fit, with Callum Wilson hopefully being fit as well, I can't see any reason why he doesn't score a lot of goals this season and get a lot of points. So in second place, a brilliant option there. And Bamford in third. Now, Bamford, I don't believe, ranked top for any of the different statistics, which he didn't. So whilst he's not first in any of the underlying statistics, he ranked in the top 4 for almost all of them and top 3 for quite a few. And that came out at an overall rank of third. So the fixtures aren't great for Leeds, which we'll get onto in a minute. But underlying statistics-wise, if Bamford plays, he's going to get a lot of points. And after Bamford, you've then got Antonio in 4th and Calvert-Lewin in 5th. And I think Antonio is quite a popular pick, and his underlying statistics are great, and he only just missed out on the top 3 for overall rank. Obviously, his XG is the thing that the underlying statistics that make him such an appealing asset. So I really do like Antonio. Antonio is in my current team as well, but those are the top 5. Iheanacho in 1st, Wilson in 2nd, Bamford in 3rd, Antonio in 4th, and Calvert-Lewin in 5th. Right, guys, we're going to quickly just discuss the fixtures now. I spoke for far too long on the underlying statistics, so I'll try and make this one brief. What I've done is I've just taken the fixture analysis from the Fantasy Football Fix website, which you can find on the website. I've used the fixture difficulty rating, which we have on the website too, and then I've given them a rank from 1st to 9th as per the underlying statistics, just so that you can try and pair underlying statistics with the fixtures to make a general decision about who is the best asset for the first 6 game weeks. Now, that does bring me to something which is very important. If you plan on playing a wild card in game week 4, or you just want to attack the first couple of fixtures, not only will the underlying statistics be potentially not as important, but the fixtures will probably carry more weight, and you can start to take a few more risks with it. Potentially you want to go for Martial because you know you're going to move him on after 1 or 2 game weeks. But I've taken the first 6 game weeks, and as you can see straight away, as probably a lot of you already know, Everton's fixtures are fantastic, and it ranks Calvert-Lewin in at 1st. So if you're a fixture person, and if Calvert-Lewin is deemed fit for game week 1, he does still look like a fantastic option. Remember, he ranked 5th for underlying statistics, so first for fixtures is very, very good alongside that. Interestingly, the person that ranked 2nd for underlying statistics, Callum Wilson, also ranks 2nd for fixtures. And this is another reason why Callum Wilson has now entered my team. The fixtures are fantastic. The underlying statistics are fantastic. Now, I don't necessarily think West Ham and Villa in the first two are particularly great fixtures for Newcastle. I don't expect them to score a lot of goals in those two fixtures, but Callum Wilson is capable of picking up a goal in each game, whether it's a penalty, whether it's just a great opportunity that he takes. The Southampton, Leeds and Watford fixtures are the ones that are very nice, and obviously Man United in the middle isn't great, but he is ranked in this list from 1st to 9th in 2nd place, so I do really like the look of Callum Wilson. So in 3rd is Anthony Martial. Now, we know Man United's fixtures are great. The one thing I would say with Martial is he's probably only expected to start the first couple up top whilst Cavani is recovering from COVID and from having to isolate. So I think if Martial does look now to start the first few, Leeds, Southampton, Wolves, that is fantastic. But just bear in mind, around game week 4, potentially game week 3, you might have to look to move Martial on. And if so, you can then do that for the likes of Jimenez, who, whilst ranked 7th here for fixtures, does have brilliant fixtures from game week 4 onwards. So there are some great fixtures for all of these strikers. I don't think any of these fixtures are particularly off-putting. You can see the popular Danny Ings ranks in 4th, joint 4th, obviously, with Ollie Watkins, who have the same fixtures. But with Aston Villa, again, those first 3 fixtures are what are most enticing. So if you're willing to move off of Danny Ings or Ollie Watkins, then going for them for the first 3 game weeks is definitely a viable option, and I really do like their fixtures in the first 3. Antonio actually ranks 6th in this list, and it's because there is a mixed bag, but once again, within those 6, there are some brilliant fixtures, and I think the reason they're ranked 6th there is because Leicester and Man United defend very well, and their game against Leeds, Newcastle and Southampton are away from home, so the algorithm has predicted it's probably less likely that they'll score a ton of goals. But I do like the Newcastle, Crystal Palace and Leeds fixtures for West Ham, so I do think also Antonio is a fantastic option. Based on these fixtures, I would obviously say that Calvert-Lewin, Wilson, and then potentially Aston Villa for the first few game weeks, so Ings or Watkins, are the best 3 options. But I think in combination, if we're looking at underlying statistics and fixtures, I would say that Callum Wilson for me is the one that stands out above all else. If I just move to the side slightly, move that way for you. You can see it. Kelechi Iheanacho is in 8th, so he's got great underlying statistics, but the fixtures aren't that great, and also we don't know whether he's going to start or not. So that would put me off Iheanacho from the start. So I would say Callum Wilson's the one that wins based on underlying statistic and fixtures. Around that, Antonio ranks relatively highly for underlying statistics, and I do like the fixtures in the first 6. Bamford obviously performs very well regardless of fixtures last season. So whilst they rank 9th here, whilst Leeds have the toughest fixtures out of all of these for the first 6 game weeks, I do still like the idea of going with Wilson. Obviously, with Calvert-Lewin and Watkins, we just want to wait and see regarding injuries. Jimenez is probably a wait and see for me. See how he returns after his injury. See how he does in the first few game weeks. And yeah, so Martial's a nice risk as well. So that is the analysis of the fixtures. For me, it's Callum Wilson and Antonio, who are the 2 that come out as being quite high on both fixtures and also underlying statistics. So there you have it. That is the analysis of the underlying statistics and fixtures for the strikers priced at 7.5 to 8 million. Slightly longer video than I'd originally planned, but hopefully there was a lot of in-depth analysis there, and that helps you to make your decision, or potentially muddies the water a little bit. But hopefully come Friday, you're going to be ready to make that decision now. Just a reminder that the daily content will be starting once the season starts, so make sure you're subscribed to our channel, make sure you like the video, and if you are excited, comment below, and if you have any dilemmas as well, comment them below, and I'll try and get through to as many as possible. But that is all we've got time for today. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please do like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.